So let's see. Hello, Erik Wallin is my name. I just jumped in very briefly for Petri Vanica, that is at the hospital right now, and hopefully he has received his first son. So I had a very fast crash course with Petri, and let's see now, so I can get his presentation and I can hopefully transmit all the knowledge from him. Do you hear me? Enreach. Enreach is a company that has a background from, we've been working with big data. I've been working with big data for a very long time, and I've always been intrigued by the very large data sets. Enreach has mostly premium publishers that we work with. We are established in Stockholm, Helsinki, also in the Ukraine and in London, and we work mainly with Nordics clients, as you can see here. So, the topics for the next 20 minutes. Does big data have an intrinsic value, or is its value only created when the right kind of data is applied to the right use case? Well, here is the, as you know, the hype, big data, as you probably lots of you have heard. To me, big data is is the term that you're trying to collect all different kind of systems. As most of you have a CRM system, a subscription system, you have all the different kind of web analytics, data mining systems, and the big data is when you're trying to get all these to intersect, and when you're trying to use something real out of it. And this has, of course, you haven't missed this. This has been a big topic for the last maybe 1 year or so, what you can do with big data. And I will look at this from three different, I will see this as a small stack. We have the big data, first the raw material, and that is usually in several different places in your organization. Then you have the DMPs, the data management platforms. I guess we all have heard about DMPs. A DMP is a specialized software solution to centralize all the data operations, and specifically for online advertising. That, I would say, is the big thing that makes the DMP different from any other data mining system. And as you see, I don't know if you have seen this, but there are numerous reports about big data out there. McKinsey have written quite a good report, but it's a more of a global for all different kinds of business domains. And the one report I think that is actually giving quite a good grip of the big data for publishers is the Gartner Group's data management platform report. I don't know if you have seen this, but it has quite lots of good takeaways if you want to study it more in detail. But this also points to that there is a big hype surrounding big data, when all this research and publisher and consulting businesses are writing white papers and reports around it. So, to simplify the situation a bit, the DMPs are the refineries, where you try to input as much of your different data sources of your big data into the DMP, and then you try to use the DMP for the best. Use the DMP in order to get out something useful. And the useful things that you will need to get out of the DMPs is how we would like to describe the word is that's the applications that you put on top of them. You have the big data, you have the DMPs, and then you have the applications on top of it. So, going back to the original question, do we have any real use of big data? Or is it just data? I mean, usually you talk about knowledge compared to big data. And I discussed this with Petri yesterday, and I said, no, now you're getting too academic when you start talking about different semantic meanings of the words. But still, I think that it's really a very important distinction to make, that data in itself is not that useful. It's when you start doing something with it. But of course, to have all the data, I think if you're looking at the handouts, I had to cut them down a little bit because it was a limited, because we have so little time. But there is a quote in the handout that you have gotten from one of the biggest data gathering companies in the world, and they claim that it takes them about 1 to 2 years to get something meaningful out of the big data. I mean, it's a big challenge to actually sort out all the apples and bananas and pears when you have different data sources and trying to make them work together. So yes, there is definitely a value in actually getting your big data in order and shape. But again, there is a difference between value and revenue. And that is not it's not automatically, that's because you have a big data solution and a DMP solution, that is not automatically the same as that you have revenues. So let's repeat a little bit. Here is the stack, the big data in the bottom that we talked a little bit about, DMP and the applications. This is all okay to you? Good. When you're looking at big data first in that stack, it's usually, I wouldn't say confused, but it's usually seen as the same thing as RTB, real-time bidding. And RTB, of course, really needs big data. It needs lots of data in order to work. And basically, you could say that the promises of RTB and what it facilitates is, of course, the automation of the sales, the transaction, pricing, invoicing, etc. And also that it also enables that you could actually enrich the data with audience information for targeting, for example, and then for more detailed reporting. But as it has turned out, I would say, now as was on one of the first slides, I'm very, very pro publisher or pro premium publishers, because that's my background, where I come from, that's where I have all the clients, that's the kind of problems, that's the perspective I have. So you have to bear in mind that my perspective is from the premium publisher side. And what you have seen is that RTB has not really fulfilled its promises to give the premium publishers lots and lots of more money, lots of more revenues. I have my esteemed colleagues here, and I think that would probably happen, but we see this as a problem, and it's a challenge, you could say. Because RTB is mainly designed to lower media costs and improve the targeting accuracy. Then just a brief look at the DMP, and in order to try to just explain a little bit about DMPs, here's the Gartner definition. I think they actually are the one that has set the standards for DMPs, or for the definition of DMPs, and you could say it's an advanced data mining solution, but it's specifically tailored to support online advertising. And DMPs, for you does not know that, it's this special software that you put it as the center that collects all the data, makes all the exchanges, cookie mapping, lots of different things. And if you're looking from Gartner's perspective, how you could divide the different DMPs, you see basically that you have a buy-side focus, and that, of course, is when you have DMPs that supports the advertisers, the media agencies, and you have the sell-side focus, and that are DMPs that are more tailored to support the publishers, the premium publisher side. And no, I like this kind of trying to make make order out of the chaotic world. I know you've probably seen all of these different logo slides with all different vendors in between the publisher and the advertisers. And we are a few, there are a few of us in this area. And then also, another important dimension of this is looking at the market maker, the exchanges. Several of the different vendors are very much focused on supporting exchanges, open exchanges or private exchanges. And then you have the other type, it's the pure play. And just to exemplify where Enreach are, is we are, as I said before, we are extremely premium publishers focused, and we are trying to support the premium publishers business. That's why we end up in that corner. And just to give you a glimpse of a DMP, I snuck this one in, despite Petri. This is, of course, what I like to talk about more, how the system works. I will not go into details of this. If someone is interested, I'd be extremely glad to take a long discussion afterwards, after these 20 minutes. But just to illustrate, this is one type of setup of DMP. And it's extremely computer hungry. I mean, this is the problem you have. I mean, you are working very much with modern big data techniques such as MapReduce, but it is tricky. And why I wanted to show you this image is that there's lots of mistakes that you can make. Yeah, we've done lots of them. We'll do them tomorrow again, but I mean, that's the only way. It's trial and horror a little bit in order to have these kind of systems to work. But yeah, let's go into the next one, applications. I got a little bit carried away there when we start looking at these schematics. The applications, you could divide the applications, the business applications, into two distinct areas. First, you have the premium sales on the left corner. Then you have the performance sales in the right column. And of course, it's not always extremely clear lines what this product is. It's a direct premium sales or etc. But if you allow me to just be a little bit categorical here and just divide it very simple. And when you're looking at this, here you start to see here we start to enter a problematic sector. The premium direct sales, I mean, if you're looking at the premium publisher, you have, of course, you might have as much as 2/3, half, 2/3, even more of your inventory being not sold as premium inventory. And still, hopefully you have hopefully of what's remaining, what is sold as premium, you hopefully have 2/3 of your revenues coming from. So you have this Parego's rule 20/80, whatever the numbers are, that you're fighting with. So what we believe very much is, of course, to boost the premium sales. How could you boost the premium products? And how do you handle the CPC, the remnant, the RTB, all different kinds of other products that you're dealing with? But because you can't really say no, we will not support any of the performance products. But the problem is to find out which ones you should support and how to handle it. And I think, I don't know if you can read this illustration, this comic strip. A classical mathematical problem for preschoolers with a new twist. I think for me, as being an engineer, of course, this is very funny. This is kind of jokes this is kind of strips we have at the office. But I think what this points out is actually trying to figure out, not just trying to fit in all different data sources, all different systems, all different products you have because you just have them, but rather to try to figure out which are the wolves that I have in my sales, in my products offerings, which are the wolves in my data structure, what system, what legacy systems should we probably not try to connect to this new DMP system. And to start summarizing, here are of course, if you're looking at if you see the direct sales, as I see on the branding side, is the promise, or I mean, what you're trying to do is to, of course, attract the big brands, trying to ship into the television budgets more and more. I was at SIME last week, and the TV4 in Sweden CEO was extremely happy, telling everyone that right now we are increasing our television sales, and we are doing that. We are taking the budgets from the publishers' print budgets, and that was, to me, actually new. I knew that print was, of course, losing revenues all the time, but I didn't know it was the television it went in that kind of rapid pace as TV4 claimed that they did. So I mean, this is of course, how do you get that back? How do you start getting that back? Yes, I don't go through all of these. Now just check how my time is. 5 minutes. Okay, excellent. I was very, very afraid of having 25 slides, that I would never go through it, but I just have one final slide, and then we could spend the next few minutes if someone has some questions instead. So to conclude, big data is the raw material to the refinery, to the DMP later. And I think the important part in order to set up this very complex system is to know what you want to accomplish. And that is, of course, much more easier to say, know what you want to accomplish. I mean, if I knew 10 years ago what I wanted to accomplish today, I guess everything would be much, much more simpler. But so, of course, there is always a trial and error, trial and horror, unfortunately, thing to it. But I mean, really try to figure out what are the important parts, what are the important business you want to support, where is the revenue, actually. Find the best technology and partner for your goals, as usual. And then, again, keep it simple. Rather make a few things work than trying to get the whole picture working, everything at once. Okay, in 15 minutes instead of 20. So I'd love to answer some questions if you have.
Okay, onko kellään kysymyksiä Erikille? There's a wonderful tweet we can see on the screen here saying that Erik is one of the very few people who understand the technology behind this. So we're hearing from real experts. Onko kellään kysymyksiä? Questions, anybody?
This is so easy.
There's so much lights I can't really see anybody. Ole hyvä.
Well, Magnus, I agree to you to some extent that I also think that you want. I remember I designed a CPM optimizing engine a couple of years ago that I was extremely thrilled about, and I was a little bit frustrated. This is so beautiful, this new machinery. Why doesn't anyone want to take it into use? Why can't, must be something wrong with our sales, was my first question, my first thinking, of course. No, but I think that, I mean, as a physicist, you have this great unification theory where you want to make something, where you want to optimize everything perfectly. And the more I work with this system, I think the more pragmatic I become. and I think that it's very difficult to make this perfect optimization situation. I also have this vision. I really would like to see that system working where you can really optimize it. One of the problems if you're looking at technology is that you have to weigh it about how much it costs. How much does it cost to make this prediction, this transaction? And that's where it usually falls, because if you make like 0.0 euro cent of that impression and it costs 0.2 euro cent, just slightly a little bit more, then you don't have any business in it. But I totally agree with you, and I will keep on working for making that come through, Magnus, definitely. But I'm a little bit more, maybe pessimistic than I could say about when it will happen in time.
Okay, more questions? Since nobody's asking, I certainly do not understand the technology behind all this, so I have to play the devil's advocate and come from a totally different point of view. One of the issues that always come up in talks of big data is privacy. Yes. And that's something, you know, private citizens and consumers are mostly concerned about. How should we, on the other side of the fence, as publishers and advertisers, take those concerns into account?
This is also a topic that's very close to my heart, the privacy, and I think I have a very very simple solution: transparency. I mean, really show what you are doing. I mean, usually you don't collect that kind of history of your naughty surfing or your illnesses or whatever it is. I mean, be extremely transparent. And I don't know if any of you have tried to turn off in feed ads at Facebook recently. I think it's like 10 steps. And it's extremely difficult. I think
it's difficult.
I think that's an example of how you should. I mean, of course, it's done on purpose. I couldn't say anything else.
Well, that's where they make their money.
Yeah, but I mean, of course they should make the money, but why are they so afraid of having a much simplified version and then not trying to, and I would actually say also that lots of these, when you're looking at different privacy initiatives, I think make it extremely simple to turn off. I could say that when we are working with other big publishers, not in Finland, but in Sweden, where we have this transparency, it's very clear where you can turn off the system. If it's one per day, I would be surprised.
Yeah. Well, Facebook is famously untransparent. They change the privacy settings every 5 minutes or so, and don't tell anybody. But can you give us an example of an opposite example of a company that is really transparent and makes it easy for consumers and regular citizens to choose how they choose to be served?
Yeah. Okay. The one I was talking about was Aftonbladet in Sweden, which where if you go into their privacy settings, it's not that difficult to find, and it's transparency. This is the data we have collected, and you click here to erase it, click here to block it. Any questions? Contact this. I mean,
and it hasn't hurt their sales.
No. What I'm telling you is I know that if there's one person per day that actually opts out, then I think that is a high figure.
So transparency can also be good business?
I think so.
Okay, thank you very much, Erik.